Well, hello everybody. We are back here on Gelvin Valley. I think I'm supposed to be trying to bale some straw left over from harvest. Actually, let me pull up the map here just to see. Yeah, it's been a few days since I've been in here, so it appears we have baled 43, 3, 1, and 2, and 32. Let me check real quick and see where all we need to bail. Ah, so I've bailed here and here, over here. Did I do this? Can't remember. I know I need to do 37 and 8. These were all canola, so I don't know about this one. Let me see. Yep, we did it. All right, so I got field 2, 8, and 37, and then we're going to be done. See if I can... Wait a minute here. I forgot to get my baler going. It's so excited to get started, and then I don't turn on. Actually, there's one other thing I need to turn on. I got a gift from a friend. It's this little timer that tells me how long I've been talking. So if I want roughly a 30-minute episode, it's this little cow, and you spin the top of it, and he keeps time. I don't know if anybody can hear it ticking in the background. Yeah, there'll be an alarm that goes off and all that. Now, wait a minute, did I forget again? Oh, see what happens. I can't multitask. My wife tells me that, and I think I'm proving it. So maybe I go down. Is that what I need to do? There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can still take in the 2. Yeah, probably not gonna be able to do that. Probably just need to try to get up here and take the 1. I'm really looking forward to getting through this harvest and planting a new crop, because for once I finally have some money in the bank. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing a little bit of math, which I won't bore anybody with. I want to kind of see what would be the... Miss that little dab, and I gotta get it. So I kind of want to see if I can stay out of the hole. I still... Or do I have it? You know, I don't think I paid off my loan. Let me just check that out real quick. Let's see which one is home. Here we go. Alright, I'm still into my loan for 200, but I have the ability to make another loan. Oh yes, input binding error. Sorry about that. So I'm thinking of getting some other property. We're just going to have to see what all we get into. But I have 50 grand in the bank. I haven't put it into the loan yet because I think I may want to spend it on some property. So we get going here. So yeah, looking forward to finally turning the corner on this map. It's been kind of a tough slog, at least for me. I maybe started it out wrong. I think I had some bad choices as to which crops I took on. Oh, this isn't wanting to go up the hill, is it? So, looking forward to all that. I think I've mentioned in here before, too, that I have a series going with a friend of mine, Atomic 67. The thing of it is, by the time this episode airs, we'll be probably done with this other series. I don't know how long we're gonna go. It's on a 4X map called Hobo's Hollow, and it's for Farming Sim 22. And this, let's just say that Farming Sim 22 while the premise is similar, it is quite different in terms of what you're able to do in game. Some of it's pretty cool, but I still come back to Farm Sim 15, even this simple map, and I still like it a lot. And in terms of just beauty, or whatever term you want to call it, and in terms of making a good mod, let me see if I can sneak this a little bit. There we go. Get that in the baler. This is still a good map. I don't care which version you're talking about. It's a solid map. Whoop, gonna get around that. But anyway, kind of as I've kind of fallen into with these episodes, if you will, just talking about things that come to mind or what have you. I think I've mentioned before, it's always a challenge to figure out what someone who's an introvert like me can talk about. And I've been mulling over in my mind the concept of pet peeves. And you talk to just anybody on the planet, everybody has a pet peeve, or multiple. And I consider myself a pretty easygoing person, but I have to admit, before I started up this episode, I started sitting down and thinking, it's like, what are things that bug me, or maybe the word nowadays would be trigger, if you will, or things that are upsetting to me in some way, or that are my pet peeves. Maybe I don't even say anything about it, and I don't know, maybe most of us don't say anything about it. It's just those things that it's like, why did that other person do whatever it was that they did? Because, do they have any idea how much it annoys me? And, so forth and so on. And maybe sometimes some of these peeves, if you will, are expressed in a marriage or a close friendship. And so maybe what we do is we practice biting our tongue instead of, really expressing irritation at our friend or our mate or whatever. And maybe the most healthy thing we should do is tell people when there's something they do that upset us, and or what have you. And I think part of the time what what we don't do enough of is maybe self introspection. I gotta say, when I was coming up with my list here, if you will, of pet peeves and things that bother me, I I don't know. I had to laugh at myself because, and call myself a hypocrite, a few times, because some of the very things that maybe are a pet peeve to me, or that I get upset at someone else, there's some other area, maybe where I've done the same thing, something similar, and I don't have any leg to stand on, in terms of criticizing someone else. And you know what? I bet I'm not alone in that. I, we probably all have our pet peeves, and we all have our blind spots, in terms of how we are, and maybe how we are perceived. So I was thinking I would go over my list, and I'm really curious as to what your pet peeves might be. And so anybody that ever happens to hear this, I don't even know what episode number this is, but we are well over 100 by now. So it's going to be a long time probably before this one ever surfaces. But I'm really curious, what people's pet peeves are. I'm guessing probably some of the ones that I will say you also would relate to. Maybe some you would disagree with, and then there's probably some that I don't have a clue about that would be your hot button and irritate the stuffing out of you. I remember when I was in college at university, there was a time I was studying in the library, and it was a really intense time period. Had some projects due, some tests I had to take, and so I was studying hard, and everybody knows that in a library you're supposed to be quiet and all that kind of thing, and I thought I was. I mean, I wasn't saying anything, I didn't have any music playing, but unbeknownst to me, I mean, I should have known because I was the one doing it. I was tapping my foot incessantly, kind of on the edge of the desk or chair, I can't remember which. And finally, this girl who's probably, oh, she probably was 75 feet away. I can't remember if we were the only two in this area. She finally said, and she was real nice about it, "Can you please quit tapping your foot?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry." And so I quit, but then I found myself doing it again. It's like, oh, and then I think I ended up having to get up and leave. No offense to her, and hopefully she didn't, think that I was upset or what have you. I just didn't know I was doing it. And then when I tried to stop, I couldn't stop. It was I kept having to think of it very deliberately to think about my feet. And once, you were thinking about your feet, I was no longer thinking of the material I was trying to study or what have you. Oh, now how do I get this thing up? Okay, if I go straight up like that. All right, I gotta go to the right for you. There, make him a little bit narrower. I think I'll just come out to the bottom down here and head on over to field number 8. Yeah, I can't really read my list of pet peeves till I get going in this field here. Actually, as I get older, one of my pet peeves is not being able to see. I don't remember what age I was. I wear contact lenses, so I can see because I'm nearsighted. Uh, but somewhere a year or two ago, it's almost like it was the power of suggestion. And my eye doctor told me, you're probably going to need reading glasses, or there's a lot of men, that get to your age and they need reading glasses. Well, he no more said it, and like within days, I felt like I needed them, and I did. And I got these silly spectacles over here I gotta wear, and oop, that's supposed to go down. Ah, yeah, see, I didn't pick up that. I gotta make sure I'm down. Anyway, let me put on my glasses and see what my first pet peeve is. Okay, the one I have on my list is, and I better get a pencil so I can mark them down as I get done with them. Chewing with the mouth open. I don't know what it is about it. And maybe I do it too and don't even realize. I don't think so, because I'm pretty careful that when food goes in my mouth that I close my lips, everything, so that I can do my chewing in silence. And it drives me up the wall when someone else is chewing and talking even, with food in their mouth and their mouth wide open. Well, and a lot of times, maybe they think they're. Oh, let's see if I can sneak up there and get that. Maybe they think their mouth is shut, but it really isn't, and they have no idea. There's just something about that noise of chewing food with the mouth open that just, I don't know, it agitates me. And I'm not going to say on here who all's guilty of doing it in my personal life. Let's just say that I get a steady dose of it from time to time, and I don't know how exactly to say, can you please close your mouth? And and just being brutally honest, I kind of like I said before, I am sure there are things that I do that drive someone else nuts. And if I knew, I would make an attempt, if I cared about them, that is. If they were a close friend and we were in proximity all the time or what have you, I would try my darndest, to change, but if you don't know, sometimes, whether it's whatever I may have or chewing food with your mouth open, maybe we just don't always realize how that sounds to someone else. But that's one of my pet peeves. The second one I put down here is it just says pull out traffic. I hate it. I'm very careful as a driver, before I turn onto a road, and I live out in the country. So a lot of times the roads are pretty free of traffic. Occasionally there's farm vehicles or whatever. But like when I go to work in the morning and head into town, usually there's not many, if any, people on the road. And what my pet peeve is when I will extend a courtesy to other drivers. If I see someone coming, even if I know there's plenty of room for me to get on the road, there's plenty of room for me to get out there, and they may just have to slow down a little bit. I hate having another driver have to slow down, on my account. So I will a lot of times sit and wait before I pull onto the road so that they can go by and then I'll come out behind them. What's a pet peeve of mine is when someone pulls out in front of me and then they drive slow. And I also don't like tailgating, so I try to give people their space. But I would prefer that it's like, I would prefer that they treat me the way I try to treat, other drivers. And it's like if you see someone coming, and when I say these are country roads, it means we're driving 55 miles an hour on the road or whatever, so we're up at a pretty good clip. Oops. And oh, I gotta try to figure out. There we go. And so, it isn't like, you're in town and you pull out in front of somebody who's doing, 25 miles an hour or whatever. It's quite a bit different, when you're driving full on 55. So, I mean, it could be dangerous too. Now, can this thing pull the hill? We're gonna find it out. I think I can. I think I can. So pulling out in traffic, not my idea of a good time. Next one I have on here is just has something to do with my personality. I'm not a morning person and never have been. I can get up early in the morning if I have to, and I frequently do, especially during busy times of year or what have you. I know it's necessary sometimes to do, and so I'll do it, but it still isn't my forte. It's like even right now as I record this, it is very late at night. This seems to be the only time I can get, when it's quiet to be able to record episodes or whatever on here. So one quirk I have personally is, when I get to work in the morning, when I get into the office, I need to get kind of woke up. I know some people have early morning coffee ritual. Well, I'm not a coffee drinker, but what I like to do in the morning to just kind of get in the mood for work is I'll take care of a few admin things, check my emails, might read an article, whatever it is. It's quiet time while I kind of just get prepared to take on the day. And so, what's a pet peeve of mine, which is entirely reasonable for people to do, I freely admit that, but it's still a pet peeve, is when I come through the door in the morning, when they immediately grab me, they, whoever it is, could be my business partners, could be an employee, when they immediately grab me and draw me into some intense discussion that they have over some work matter or what have you, and it's entirely legitimate. I'm just saying I don't like it. I like having, the 15 minutes, half hour to kind of compose myself to get ready for the day. And then I don't mind tackling, a hard question or whatever. But I just hate, getting bombarded with it the moment I come in the door, when I'm basically just looking for my desk for a little bit of quiet time. So I don't know. Maybe that's just kind of my own personal quirk. Let's see, another one here. Talking while presenting. As you can hear on here, I am not really a gifted public speaker. I do a little bit of it in my day job, whenever I have to. Occasionally, when we issue a set of financial statements at my work, we will talk to it to a board of directors. So that's a time that I'm engaged in public speaking. There's staff training. We'll have clients in for education or whatever. So, but not that much. By and large, being an accountant, you don't have to do a whole lot of public speaking. And generally, when I do it, well, kind of like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm an introvert, and that doesn't necessarily mean or I don't think an introvert necessarily avoids public speaking. It's but it takes a piece out of you, and so, or at least it does for me. So whenever I have to speak in public, I do a ton of preparation, because when I get up there and do it, I want to make sure, the delivery works. I want to make sure I say it the way, whatever I need to communicate, that it needs to be said. And I won't say that I just sit there and practice, but just suffice it to say there's a lot of background preparation that goes into it. And my personal temperament, when I'm in a meeting or conversing with someone, and especially if someone else is presenting something, I figure that's my time to shut up and my time to listen and let them talk. And my pet peeve, I guess, what I'm trying to get around to say is there's a type of person that, I'll try to be polite here. I don't know what it is, but they don't have that in them. And when someone else is talking, or has the floor, if you will, it doesn't mean to them that they should quit talking or that they should instead, go into listen mode, but when, I know a number of times at work or whatever, we'll have a meeting, and when there is excessive side conversation, when the meeting is started and people aren't paying attention, they're still doing their chit chat. I personally think that that's kind of rude. And like I say, I don't do a ton of public speaking, but I know I've even been in client situations in the boardroom where there is somebody who has treated me that way. And in those situations, I mean, hey, they're paying me, so if they want to talk over the top of me, fine, I guess. But I guess part of it I don't quite understand. It's like, if you give me the floor and you want me to speak, then why are you still talking instead of listening? And some of it, I think I'll admit here too, it's maybe personal pride on my part as to why, well, frankly, probably all of these pet peeves are just a result of personal pride, whether for me or anybody else. But I don't know, I guess it's one of those things, kind of like the pulling out in traffic instance. I try really hard not to pull out in front of other drivers, when they're already coming, and when I know that I won't have time to get up to speed and it would slow them down. Well, I try to give them space, wait just a little bit longer. And I try to be that way too in public speaking, that when someone else is talking and they have the floor, I try to listen and I try to keep my mouth shut. And maybe I've mentioned in here before, I think of another instance. But I'm a Sunday school teacher on Sundays at our church, and it's the same dynamic there. And I don't care if it's church, Sunday school, business meetings, school, classroom presentation. This dynamic is anywhere you find groups of people. So, if we as teachers in a Sunday school setting or any setting, if we tell our kids something, hey, you need to be quiet while we're doing this important lesson or whatever, and a teacher can get upset, if the kids aren't paying attention or talking or aren't listening. What are they to think if they turn around and they see their teacher treating someone else the same way, like when we're in general session or whatever, talking when other people are trying to instruct the larger group or what have you. I think we'd call that hypocritical, but it's one of those things, and maybe all of us, we say, well, this is something real quick, and I don't know it in those situations too, when someone is trying to give my attention and I'm trying to listen, to someone else, I find that a bit irritating too. It's like, hey, I'm trying to listen here. Why do you think you are so much more important than the person who's up there speaking to us? So, just one of my pet peeves. Oh, this one here really bugs me. Cell phones. I don't mind hearing a cell phone go off, but and maybe I'm just from a different era. Uh, when I grew up, I don't think cell phones existed. I remember my grandfather getting this huge box that he carried with him in his truck, and it had a phone in it, powered by a battery. It was kind of, ooh and ah technology way back then. I remember my father getting a phone at some point, and it was the size of a brick, and it went in his truck and was stuck on his dash. Now everybody and their dog has a cell phone, and so do I. Frankly, I don't deserve a smartphone, when it comes right down to it, because I don't use it for all the functionality it has. I basically use it as a phone, do a little bit of texting, and that's pretty well it. You know, I, that's it. Anyway, cell phones, if I am having a conversation with someone, I don't have a cell phone anywhere near me. Really what I do when I get up in the morning, my cell phone is my alarm. I guess I use it to wake me up in the morning. I take it to work, and you got all the double factor, multi-factor authentication, whatever that stuff is, to log into things. That's what I basically use it for all day. So it sits right beside me, but I basically don't touch it other than that. And so, there's some people, a lot of people, who can't go anywhere without their phone, and that isn't me. Sundays when we're going to church or whatever, I don't even take the phone with me. I've survived this long without it. I don't need to take it with me. And and so when I sit down and have a conversation with someone, most of the time I don't have a phone on me. And I got to say, what kind of irks me or hurts sometimes is when the person you're talking to has a phone and they can't keep their hands off of it. It dings, and all of a sudden they got to check and see, well, who sent them a text? Or they just got to check it just for checking its sake. It's an email come in, or they got to monitor it, or whatever it is. And meanwhile, I'm trying to talk to them, have a conversation, and their eyes are looking down at it and then looking up at me. And then sometimes it's almost like they do you a favor. I put the ad in quotes, where they will turn the phone over on the table so they can't see it. It's like, oh, how nice of you. Now you're going to pay attention to me? And of course, if you did the same thing to them in return, they wouldn't like that either. But I have a hard time with use a cell phone sometimes, when you're with a friend or a significant other. It's like, come on, can't you put that thing down and relate to another human being who's sitting right in front of you? I just think it sends a message to whoever you're talking to that when it dings and you got to have it with you, that the phone is more important than the person you're talking to. So I know sometimes at work, I think we've talked about it before. It's like to our staff. If you ever take a client to lunch, make sure you observe some proper etiquette with your cell phone, because you don't want the person getting the idea that that little black box or whatever thing you're holding is more important than they are. And I think particularly where I don't like cell phones is at mealtime, the family mealtime at home. And you know what? I'm just going to take this up here and turn it in because I got to go get a trailer now. There's the alarm that went off. So maybe what I need to do is terminate the episode here. Oh, it was a good old friend of mine that got me this here. Atomic, that's for you. He sent me this timer. But I gotta go turn this baler in and get a trailer and start picking up these bales and get them sold and out of my hair so we can figure out the crops for the coming year. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you stopping by. I haven't yet got to the bottom of my pet peeve list, so I'm probably going to be continuing that in another episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.